Hey, this is Ramon Phipps with the Detail, back for another Wednesday check-in. I have a very opinionated topic that I just want to bring up. Harm reduction versus abstinence. Okay, so I do a lot of work in the field of addictions, and I'm more so of an advocate for abstinence-based treatments and approaches towards curbing addictive tendencies in the first place. Addictive tendencies in themselves are based on this choice and desire to want to find a psychoactive change over and over and over and over again. And this becomes a dependency, this becomes a routine, this becomes a conditioning of the mind. When you're talking about the brain and neuroplasticity, these habitual routines change your brain to adapt to this new mean. So meaning that your brain gets very used to changing a psychoactive state and needing to change a psychoactive state. If you appreciate that one organ in your head that controls the remainder of your body, then you gotta recognize that it is very immature and it only wants pleasure, it only wants to feel good, it only wants to think, learn new things and adapt to new ways of being. And we can use that to our advantage. But if we're not aware of this, then sometimes it works to our disadvantage, such as when we just found it nice and easy to have a beer or a glass of wine at dinner every day after work. Maybe that's your routine for the last 15 years of your life, but your brain got very used to that pleasurable effect. The moment where you stop doing that routine, you might find it hard, even if it be very small and subconscious, little irritabilities, you might find it hard to actually break that routine. But this is your brain. This is your brain that wants the continuous patterns that is always expected. That makes it feel like it's having fun. That makes it feel like it's in a nice, pleasurable state. Now, choosing to change this dynamic in itself is where the hard part of recovery starts, when people choose to throw away their addictions and engage in this thing that we call a new lifestyle of recovery. Recovery means different things to different people. But the most stressful thought that anybody that's transitioning from addiction to recovery will ever have is this daunting idea that I will never change my psychoactive state again. People will say to themselves, well, maybe in the future I want to see myself have one glass at the dinner table. Maybe in 2-3 years time, after I get through this addictive rut in my life, I can see myself casually hanging out with the boys cracking some cold ones. Maybe I can still smoke weed because I'm now off of opioids, or I don't drink anymore, or I'm not putting stuff up my nose anymore. Maybe. What you're doing there is you're creating this soothing effect that moderation is meant to give you. This idea that if you don't overindulge, then you're in control. And one of the greatest fears for any human being is the fear of a loss of control. So what if you now admitted the idea that you will never drink again because you will lose control? You will never use again. You will never engage in another behavioral stimulus again, watch pornography again, because you will lose control once again. What if you admitted that to yourself and guided your recovery based on that? Wow, that's very stressful. That's very anxiety provoking. No one wants to do that. Woe is me. Why am I the one who doesn't get to drink anymore when all my friends drink? Why am I the one who gets addicted? Well, after you get over those thoughts, after you get over that distress, after you get over those moments of high emotional turmoil, trying to face this one fact, then the possibility of you living your life in abstinence becomes a lot more easier for you to see. Because there was a point in all of our lives where we never needed to change our psychoactive state just to have fun, just to deal with the life in general. There was a point in everyone's life when you were like that. And it might have been a long time ago, but there was a point. Recovery for some people is getting back to that point in a sense. And knowing that we don't need to change our psychoactive state in order to feel better in this world. Because we've learned through our addiction that that is a lie. We lied to ourselves, we lied to the people around us, we manipulated our mind, and we ruined our physical and mental health because of our addictive tendencies. So knowing that, why is moderation ever an idea for some people when it comes to their transition from addiction to recovery? I get it. Some people are not ready to let it all go. Some people want to practice more harm reduction type of approaches. But remember, even a harm reduction is something that is more so of a public health administration focus. It has nothing to do with the individual, but more so about curbing the overall detrimental effects that addiction has on our healthcare system. Hence, injection sites, clean needles for people to use, HIV and STI testing, so that we can, of course, make sure that people are healthy while they're still engaged in their full-blown addiction. But moderation, this idea that we have enough control to just have one, no. There's so much more that you have to deal with regarding your addiction before we can even get to that point where we can say that I'm a person who can just have one. Some people are not even willing to look at their anxieties, their traumas, their past experiences, why they are so susceptible to psychological dependencies in the first place. And they focus primarily on this idea that I just gotta stop using this drug or engaging in this behavioral stimulus and I'm gonna be good. And if I stop using for a period of time, then I'll try again and I'll just do it in moderation. But what created the addiction in your life in the first place? Remember, the addiction was you pursuing this behavior, this choice of changing your psychoactive state while knowingly causing detriments to your own life. So you were living this morally misguided lifestyle, and you don't think you could go back there again? Because I've seen people from youthful ages to the geriatric stages engage and fall into addiction. What makes you different? Because the thing that makes you different from most people in this world is that you may be susceptible to an addiction, and this comes from obsessive thinking patterns and compulsive behavioral habits. But what makes you different enough to say that after my addiction I'm now going to practice moderation? Is that real? Is that true? Or is that just a soothing effect that you're giving your mind to tell yourself that you don't have to stop everything, that you can still have this little bit of fun, that you can still keep going the way that you were going with just a little bit less, that you don't have to treat your life any differently? But nothing will change if nothing will change. You will still be messing up your life. You will still be finding yourself coping with your emotions using psychoactive changes. You will find yourself back into psychological dependencies. And that's the easy trajectory to see. How about the possibility of seeing yourself never using again in abstinence? I mean, is that so impossible? For people who practice sobriety for even 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, for 2-3 days, you show to yourself that you don't have to live your life using. So why live your life in this denial that you can never, ever, ever not use again? It's a choice. It's your choice. This has been Ramon Phipps with The Detail, here for our Wednesday Mindful Check-In. This one was more opinionated. I just wanted to get it off my chest a tad little bit. Go Team Abstinence. I'll see you next Wednesday.